Hey everybody, Shea here with Method Vans. Welcome to part 2 of our water cabinet assembly. In part 1, we went through design, function, structure of the cabinet, some componentry in the cabinet, and I wanted to take you through kind of what we've done since then, which is once the cabinet goes into the van, we finish all the plumbing. And so I want to take you through a little bit about the quality of plumbing that we do, how we're different than others out there, and we try to highlight those throughout our videos. So I'll grab the camera and I'll take you on into the van and we'll take a look. So first off, as we come to the back of the van, I'll just highlight a couple things, not specific about the water cabinet, but just about the rear part of our van. So we've got our Alpine Van Works rear storage bags. We have our Canyon and Venture Vans, their stop-stay door strut systems, which are awesome. We have our Method Vans rear bumper, which is, in our opinion, the best in the business. It's really solid. It has the rear high density polyethylene strips in case you bounce into something and you don't want to damage the aesthetics of your bumper. It's incredibly strong. We have toe point recoveries on it. It's got dimple dies for traction, and then obviously fully coated in our ultra premium powder coating. Also at the rear of the van, we can highlight our the van essentials, rear door bug screen and blackouts, which we installed on this van. And then as we kind of come into the van, you're going to see our water cabinet assembly. Now this is our water storage, water distribution, water heating, and also obviously all of our sensory actions that happen inside of this cabinet. So again, at the rear of the cabinet, we have a nice storage bin for Camco coiled water hose that has another Aquar connector to go into our Aquar outlet. We have our volume and temperature control through the Ambassador Marine tap. We have our 1.5-inch stainless steel positively sealed water fill. So as if we were going up a hill, we wouldn't want any water coming out into the van. So there's an O-ring that seals that off tight. And then our last is we have a physical water gauge through KUS USA that will give us a water reading as we're filling the tank. So we don't need to see inside the cabinet. We don't need a silly light to look in the cabinet. I mean, of course, we're going to use a physical gauge. And as I take you into the cabinet, I'll explain more about the gauging that I did highlight before. So again, just in the back end of our builds, you'll see just the beautiful finish that we have right from our our trimming, all trimmed out just beautifully. We have our electrical assembly, which we've already highlighted, but this is your first view of it inside of the van. We have our beautiful doors that open and close. We've got quick access to the electrical cabinet. And then, we have our sheet vinyl, which is marmoleum throughout the entire van. It's seamless. It's incredibly strong, resistant to abrasion and things like that. And obviously just beautiful. And then we have our bed wall, which is finished in a custom laminate for this customer. And then obviously you're seeing a bit of a gap between the cabinets and the top of the bed wall. And that's accounting for our bed frame, which is a 1-inch aluminum bed frame. And then we have our mattress on top of that. So let's take you into the van and take a look at the specifics of what we have going on inside of the water cabinet. So inside of our water cabinet, as we've talked about before, we start off with our 106-gallon Method Vans water tank, which is, as I mentioned before, has been specifically designed for our enclosure, giving us all of the ports that we exactly want in our builds. And so we're not compromising on anything when it comes to our tanks. It is giving us maximum capacity within the parameters of what we have inside of this cabinet. I'll just zoom out here a little bit, give you a little bit of a better view. So we start off with our, like I said, 106 liter water tank, which is made in Canada, and it's obviously got our logo, embossed in there. And then on the top of the tank, we have our first piece, which is our vent. This is the draw vent so that the tank will get air as we're consuming water out of the tank. We have 2 KUS float senders or water level senders. Again, we use 2 because 1, as I noted before, will come to our gauge over here and give us a reading. And then the second one goes electronically over to our electrical system, tying in with our Serbo GX and giving us an electronic tank level of our water. So we'll be able to see this on the Touch 70 in the van via the VRM portal from anywhere in the world. We can see our water level, or of course we have a physical gauge at the end of the cabinet to give us a reading as we're filling, or a quick check when we're inside the back of the van. The tank is held in place by a nice supporting angle bracket, so there's absolutely zero movement of this inside of the cabinet. And then we have a nice bracket that kind of finishes it off and holds it in place. So it can't come forward, it can't go anywhere, and this is not going to be moving no matter what we're doing inside the van for off-roading and such like that. So we have our water tank, and then other componentry inside the tank. We obviously have our water heater. So this is the IsoTemp Slim Square, which is a 16-liter high temperature tank that has a mixing valve, which is right there. So we have our cold water coming in, and it mixes up through into the hot so that we can regulate that temperature down. We have our electricity, which obviously finishes off quite beautifully with a surface mounted box. And hopefully you're starting to appreciate some of the fit and finish of our plumbing, which I think is one of the key characteristics of what makes our builds exceptional. I would wager that you will not see this level of finishing and detail in plumbing in any other build, full stop. I don't know of any other build that uses full stainless steel crimps and has this meticulous style of plumbing. And so, it seems like a shame that we put a door on this because it is beautiful, but everything we do has this level of fit and finish, so we don't skimp anywhere. So taking you through kind of the flow of the water in this system. So we start with our tank, of course. We have our draw, which is a 1/2-inch draw at the bottom. That obviously goes into a valve, which then can drain the tank out to the bottom of the van. And then that's sealed from the underside of the van, so we'll get nothing coming up there. If we're not draining the tank, then we're obviously consuming water out of the tank. So then this valve would be closed. We're going to come across and we're going to have this valve here, which is going to then be open. This valve is our winterization valve, which we have a hose pre-ready to go for the client. He can just stick this in his winterizing solution, his antifreeze solution, and draw it up by closing off the draw. So that one will be closed for now because we're not going to be winterizing. This one would be open because that's going to be our draw. Our draw then comes up using flexible line, which is required by the pump. Then we get into a filter. So we have a strainer filter before the pump. Then we come into our SureFlow Revolution pump, which is a bypass pump. So we have less cycling. And then we're coming in again through to the Guzzle H2O Stealth, which gives us our sediment and carbon block filter. And then through that, we then come up into the UV light, which then obviously sterilizes the water for bacteria and viruses. So we can feel very confident and safe of the water we're putting in this tank, and then we can drink it and or obviously use it for washing. So coming out of that sterilization of the UV, we come with, obviously we're all in cold right now, we come up to our lines of cold. One of those cold lines is going to come down to our mixing valve at the back of the van. And then we're going to be coming through into the rest of the cabinet. So we come ahead, we are then going to tee off, and that would feed into our kitchen sink. We will tee off here, which then feeds our hot water heater with cold water. Then we, as I mentioned, we have our mixing valve. Hot water here comes out, and then so we obviously transition to red once it's hot. We have a valve here and a valve here, which allows us to do a bypass. So when we winterize, we can just drain the hot water tank. We don't have to fill it with 16 liters of antifreeze. We come out here, obviously, with our hot. We're closing off the hot and the cold while we're using it, whereas this would be open if we were going to be winterizing. And all the valving is pretty straightforward once you understand the purpose. Then we're coming off here. One of the lines obviously comes T's 90s back, and then that's feeding our hot water to our rear outlet, which is for our shower, for our rear hose, and that kind of thing. And then obviously the next hot runs forward. So we have a hot and cold running forward, which then will cycle down into kind of above the wheel well, you'll see there. And then that will go back to our kitchen sink. And so we also have here, we've got our drain for our ISO temp. And again, we have that in red because then at that point it is hot as it's draining typically. So it's going to come out here. It's going to come down and go through to the drain. Now, this obviously isn't open at this time, or wouldn't be while we're using it, only while we would be draining it. You will then see a valve here or a line here, which is our fill vent, and that is a high vent. So you'll see how it comes here, and then it cycles up high and actually comes above the line of our fill. And we do that so we don't get any gurgling while we're filling the tank. Air will go up and then be able to go down and expel out the van as we're filling the tank, but we won't get any gurgling. We have our 1.5 inch, which is a really nice, robust line coming into the tank so we can fill it incredibly fast. And we just have our short little piece that comes into our tank. And then at the back, you'll see our water level gauge sensor, which I've talked about. You'll see our Panduit tracking, which again, we're just trying to conceal the wires. We have our brush plate here, which again is hiding any sort of visibility into the back wall. Everything in this cabinet is fully accessible. The water heater has been perfectly placed so that it could be removed if there was any sort of a problem. And again, just highlighting, as I've mentioned, we use all of the color-coded tubing so that it's easy for our clients to see the process of which the water is going through and have this all make sense to them. And of course, as I highlighted before, we're using all stainless steel crimps throughout the entire build when we come to our plumbing. And again, that's an aesthetic piece. It will never corrode. They will never look bad. They're very strong. They're very functional. They're often reserved for dental offices, emergency healthcare facilities, things like that. So we've kind of stepped up our level of fit and finish in our plumbing like we do in all parts of our van. As we mentioned in the construction of the cabinet, we do have a light that's attached to the cabinet, which then will envelope and light up this space. Now, the electrical system is not running in this van yet, so that is not functioning. And then, as I mentioned, you'll see all of the rivet nuts that go around the cabinet. And the bottom amounts of rivet nuts are for our full extension sliders. Once the sliders go in, then the tray can go in. And then the ones that are coming around the cabinet go through for a door. Now, this is a static door that we wouldn't be in and out of regularly because there's really no reason to be in and out of here very often, maybe once or twice a year. And when we're winterizing, say once a year, we can pull the door off. It's 6 or 8 bolts. It's pretty fast. And then we have nice full access. And we need that full access because we have to be able to get this tank in and out and things like that. So we need a very large access door inside of this. So this gives you kind of an overview of what we have for our water system, and giving you also, like I said, just a final kind of view of what our garage space is going to look like. Envisioning now the bed frame and the full extension slider finishing off this garage space. We have one of the nicest garages in the business. You're getting enough space in here to put up to 4 mountain bikes or 2 mountain bikes and up to 4 large totes. Again, that is not common in the industry. I don't think you'll find many builds out there that accommodate that amount of storage space in our garage or in the garage. And for us and for our clients, we find that this is one of the best, most used features in the van, is having a massive storage space to have all of their gear so they can get out and find adventure. And to do that, obviously, we needed to be very, exact in our specifications of how we build everything, how everything fits in here, so that we can get the maximal space inside of the van. This is, again, a quick preview of the final parts of this van before we deliver it off to the customer. But stay tuned for more videos, and reminder to get outside, have some fun, and if you're interested in a van, give us a shout at Method Vans. Thanks.